Hey everybody, and welcome to another Chairman of the Board ranking video. This is where I rank and review 5 new to me board games in order of preference. And now before I get started on today's 5 games, I want to give a shout out to the show sponsor kienda.co.uk, who are my go-to online retailer. If you use the link in the show notes or the QR code, then you can get 5% off your first order. At number 5, I might have one of the oldest games I've ever covered on the channel. This is Happy Families, and I believe this one might go all the way back to like the Victorian era. I could be wrong on that, but I think I might have seen that it goes that far back. This is a very simple memory game where you have several different suits of cards depicting these different families. You've got the fireman, and then you've got the fireman's wife, and his boys, basically a son and a daughter. And what you're trying to do is you're trying to ask your opponents if they have certain characters in their hand. If they do, they'll give them to you. And if they don't, you're done basically. And what you're trying to do is you're trying to collect the whole family and then play them in front of you, which is going to be essentially your points. So very simple stuff. You can try and deduce or remember where certain cards will be. Of course, if one person's asking for a certain card, then you've got a good idea that they've got the other suits in that card. So that's pretty much what it is. It's just very basic memory stuff, but it works. It's a little bit too I don't say swingy, but it's a little bit too obvious at times. And sometimes if you're doing really well, it's very easy to get like a snowball effect going where you can keep on guessing correctly because information becomes clearer and clearer, and one person tends to snowball and win the game by quite some distance. But it's very old. Again, it's just a pure distillation of the memory mechanism, and I actually made a video about recently. This one wouldn't quite make that list. I think it's a little bit too primitive and a little bit too clunky. So that is Happy Families at number 5. At number 4, I have Fear. So this is part of Freedom and Freeze's Fast Forward series, where you can open the box and straight out of the gate you can start playing because the cards will tell you what to do essentially. Now this game is when you play through it, it will reveal more information, add some maybe things you weren't expecting. So I'm not going to go into spoilers or anything like that. Not like there's much to spoil, but the crux or the core of the game is a variant of the blackjack mechanism, where you are trying not to go over, I think it's 15 in this game, by playing cards in your hand. But instead of doing like a blind flip, you are playing cards out of a 3-card hand limit. On your turn, you can simply play a card or you can draw a card up. But sometimes once you've got a hand limit, you're forced to play cards and so on. And it's all about just trying to have the right cards in your hand at the right time to stay in the game, essentially. Now, the small twist on this one is that small cards are generally better because they'll mean you've got more flexibility to sneak in there and keep in the round. But once one player's gone bust by being forced to go over that 15, then it's whoever's got the highest total or highest sum of cards in the hand will be the winner. So sometimes it's useful to keep a high valued card back. And that's pretty much what the game is. Again, there are some different twists on the game as you go through those cards, but honestly, it was nothing too interesting. And if I want to play a blackjack variant, then so many other games have done it to a much higher standard. In particular, I'm thinking about games like Capital Lux or even Ratjack. They are leagues ahead of Fear. So I couldn't really recommend this one to anybody. Maybe if you want to try that kind of novelty of just the pick up and play fast forward thing, you might like it. And kids are going to understand this one as well. But it all boils down to what cards in your hand. Is a pure luck fest. And to be honest, the decisions weren't really there. At least for me, I thought it was quite bland and very predictable. So that is Fear at number 4. At number 3, I have Expressions. So this is a cooperative deduction game as you are trying to work out the cards in your teammates' hands. And the game boils down to 2 very distinct actions you can take. The first of which is to give information, and the second of which is to simply guess a card that is in someone's hand. Now, the objective of the game is to try and get more kind of positive cards than negative cards. And you're going to do that by guessing correctly. Negative cards are going to be given by, basically the more clues that you give will be more negative points. But of course, giving clues is going to be your lifeblood, because that's going to be the information that the players are going to use to decide who's got what. The card design in this game is actually really good, where you not only does the card have the the suit color and the number, it also has 4 bits of information on the edges of the card. And that is going to show, well, that's going to be how you relay the information. So if you play out a card in front of you, you could either say, this is the highest card in my hand, this is the lowest card of this color in my hand, this is, I think it's, I have more cards of this number in my hand, or this is the only card of the suit I have in my hand. And of course, as more cards are played out, you should be able to pick the bones out of that information to pinpoint which cards people have. But sometimes the shuffle or the way the cards are spread, that might be easier said than done, meaning that you have to do more clues, which means more negative points. It's all about striking that perfect balance of giving enough information, but not too much to the point where you're going to lose the game. And that's all this game is. It's very straightforward, but it's clever, and you do have to use your, again, deduction skills to work out who has what. The game gets out of its own way. It doesn't focus on mechanisms or silly little tricks. It's all about using that information to do the fun part, which is the deduction, with a very simple win or loss condition too. So I think this game is actually very clever. I would actually directly compare it to another game I already have in the collection called Bomb Busters, which I did praise quite a bit when I played it, I think it was this year. Nice, again, very similar deduction game as you're trying to work out who has what. This one, I would say if you like one, you're definitely going to like the other. And again, I'm not really sure how much different they are really, because you are playing the same type of game. But again, I really do like the way this game is so fast, and it's all just put down into a pack of cards. And it is quite satisfying when you do use that information to decide who has what. So that is Expressions. I think fans of deduction are going to really like this one at number 3. At number 2, I have Rainbow. This is a tiny card game. It's a shedding game with a degree, or say a smidge, of trick taking. This one, you're simply trying to score as many points as you can by playing sets of cards from your hand. You can either play a single card, you can play a set of cards, as in, like, say, 3 3s, or 2 4s, as long as it's the same number, or you can play runs of cards, as long as you've got several cards in a sequence. So you can play like a 3 4 5 6, or a 1 2 3 4, and once you've played the trick, basically everyone's played for that round, whoever's played the strongest set of cards will take the strongest score pile, and so on, going down to the weakest score pile. But the twist on this game is that the cards played in the previous round will be the scoring cards for the next round. So if you've won the previous card with a bunch of 6s, then the 6 pile is going to be very strong in this next round, which means that you might want to play an even stronger suit, and so on. At the same time, maybe the spread of cards isn't that drastic, so you can use that to play your weaker cards in order to get still a healthy amount of points. So it's all about trying to get the most bang for your buck. So that's pretty much the crux of the game. It's very straightforward, little card shedding mechanisms that we've seen before, with those extra twists of what you've played previously will be the score pile, or the treasure for the next round. But there's a further twist in this game which I think might go underappreciated, or not quite not quite respected as it could be, which is the game will end once, I think it's 2 players have run out of cards. So what that means is you have to pace yourself quite carefully, because you can actually get rewarded by spilling through your cards quite quickly, which could be a way to get, front load the game quite a lot, get a bunch of cards early in the game, and then you can hope that someone else spends their cards quickly and catch everyone else off guard when they've still got a lot of cards left in their hand. But at the same time, you've got to be careful where if you spend your cards too quickly, you're going to spend the rest of the game just with your arms folded, waiting for other people to catch up. And that could cost you. So it's all about trying to strike that balance just right to, again, not only ensure you and secure yourself points, but also to try and catch your opponents off guard, but not wait too long because you could be locked out of the game too long. So very clever stuff, only about 15 minutes of gameplay here. Easy to explain, and I just like those little nuances, those little niche rules that just make this one kind of just kind of pique my interest a little bit more than there would be if this game was just a simple shedding game. So yeah, like this one, right up my alley. Not going to take up much shelf space at all. Very affordable, nice bright aesthetic, and I can see this one hitting the table quite often. So that is Rainbow at number 2. And finally, at number 1, I have Ingenious 3D. So regular viewers of my channel will know that I am a fan of the original Ingenious, a lovely abstract strategy game by Knizia, where you're trying to build up rows and columns of different symbols to try and score them, and all these different colours will score, but only your weakest set will be your final score. So you have to strike this balance of keeping everything just right. This one is 90% the same, except, as the name will suggest, you can now place your tiles on top of existing tiles. So you can cover up symbols, which you can use to your advantage, because of course, if you're really steamrolling a particular shape or colour, then you can start covering up those symbols to stop your opponent from capitalising on your previous efforts. I like the way this game actually is really condensed, because the original Ingenious had to be quite wide and spread thin so you can place all the tiles. This one is much tighter, meaning that you are forced from a pretty early stage in the game to start having to overlap those tiles, which for me, it just really does increase the fun factor and the interest factor, as you've got a more dynamic board state, different opportunities, more opportunities to block, and so on. So I just think this game does everything the original does, but with a bit more interest and even more fun. And that's no discouraging comment on the original, because I really like the original too. But this one, now it's out there, I can never see myself going back to play the original, because not only the novelty factor, but the actual decision space and the actual interest in the gameplay is actually heightened quite a bit. There's a few extra little tweaks as well, which again are very minor. But I believe in the original Ingenious, you'd only get those bonus moves if you reach right at the top of the track. In this one, each different set has 2 opportunities to do back-to-back moves, meaning that you're more encouraged to balance your sheets and make sure that you're getting those extra turns to get a leg up on your opponents. So top marks for the gameplay. I think it's fantastic. Production-wise, it's generally really good. I mean, the tiles themselves are fantastic, and they're designed in this way where they really lock in place and aren't really susceptible to be moved or to slide around. And at the same time, because it's an illegal move to directly put a tile on top of another tile, the tiles don't actually let you do that, because there's like a plastic bar on them. It means they'll slide off and won't fit nicely. I think that's a really nice touch. But on the downside, the actual tile racks in this game are nowhere near as good as the original, because they're just cardboard foldovers, where in the original you had these little plastic racks. So I would have liked to have seen a more deluxified, even slightly more robust rack or tile rack to play with. But again, I am nitpicking. The gameplay is great, the tiles are great, I love the 3D aspect, and it still has that real cool, ingenious DNA with it, with that awesome scoring system where only your lowest colour is your final score. And that can become really, I'll put players under a lot of pressure if you find yourself lagging on one of those colours. So I can't praise this one enough. Wonderful puzzle game, wonderful family game that anybody can enjoy. That is Ingenious 3D, a definite number 1. So there we have it. That concludes another ranking video. Hopefully you've enjoyed it. If you have, please be sure to hit like and subscribe to the channel, and check out my other content too. But for everybody else, I'll see you next time on Chairman of the Board. Bye bye.